From the studios of KENW on the campus of Eastern New Mexico University, it's You Should Know, featuring the people and events of Eastern New Mexico and West Texas.
Welcome to You Should Know. I'm your host, Evelyn Ledbetter, and today my guest is the USDA Rural Development State Director of New Mexico, Patricia Dominguez. Patricia, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I love coming.
Appreciate you making the drive from Albuquerque, right, to visit with us.
It was an early morning, but it was well worth it.
Well,
thank you.
We always appreciate you coming and giving us updates on what RUS is doing. So I know you've been on the show a couple of 3 times in the past, but just kind of give an update of some of your background and how you wound up in this position.
So I'm a native New Mexican. I grew up north in a little town called Penasco. In fact, I think last time we talked a little bit about skiing.
Sure.
Skiing up at the little ski area up there, Sipapu. Yeah, it's a small town. I think I meant to mention my graduating class had 54 people.
Well, that's actually pretty decent for a small town.
Yeah, it's pretty decent class size. But so I talked to others, and they're like, I had hundreds, and I was like, no, I knew everybody.
Sure, from
town.
From that whole valley.
Yeah, everybody knows everybody. So yeah, it was a wonderful place to grow up, beautiful country, and I was very excited to get selected for this position because I got to serve my community. And now I get to serve like all rural communities, which is a very special honor for me.
Well, and it needs a person that's close to their heart.
Yeah.
So tell me about how did the appointment? You went to school at UNM.
I did.
And you got your degree. What did you get your degree?
Actually, I have a degree in biology with the minor in chemistry.
Lots of times we wind up not working in what
and I didn't end up. I did a little bit of work in that field. I did do some work with water. For Bernalillo County and actually for the state of New Mexico before I moved to actually Senator Bingaman's office, where I did cover the natural resources portfolio, and then later for Senator Heinrich's office as well. And I covered a multitude of things, but both of those senators sat on the Energy and Natural Resources Committee, so I did get to use my degree a little bit. And
Sure. And the appointment for this comes through federal?
It is a White House appointment. So
that's what I thought, not state,
president,
but federal.
Yeah, the president.
So
it's a presidential appointment. So
right.
a wonderful honor, and I can't say how honored I am to be able to serve my community.
Well, we appreciate what you do for all of us because we're definitely small towns.
Thank you.
I think it's interesting. The RUS started out as basically under REA, which was the Rural Electrification Act, correct?
Yeah. So back when the country was starting to become electrified, the the federal government started putting pots of money into various communities, and so rural communities, I think, is probably as it rolled through the country, they needed to have some oversight. So yes, that's how it got created, and it's gone through many iterations. It was Farm Service Agency later, and now it's Rural Development, and so now we kind of have a breakout with farm. So now we have the FSA, which is also the Farm Service Agency, and then the NRCS, which is a Natural Resource Conservation Service, and then Rural Development.
Okay.
And so we all serve really the same community, just kind of in different ways. So,
right.
like they probably touch a little more deeply on direct producers. We do as well, but probably not quite as deeply as they do. Like, we fund other parts of rural communities. So, if I yeah.
I think I'd read that FDR was actually the president and went to visit some rural town, and there was no electricity, and so through that in 1985 established the REA, and I read a number, they actually put $410 million into it, 1935. I'd like to know what that is in current dollars, but that's a big investment to bring electricity to all of us that did not have in the rural areas. So, well, tell me what all's going on with your department this year. I mean, I know you've provided a lot of money, about $400 million total to different infrastructures in New Mexico.
It was like a very exciting year for us. So $400 million. So essentially we kind of function like a bank, really. But I think we fund folks sometimes where maybe other banks wouldn't fund them. So we take on that role. And so we have different programs. We have our business program, housing, water and wastewater, electricity, and telecommunications.
That's a broad,
So it's a
broad
very,
scope.
very broad scope. And through all of those projects, we have $400 million investments, and that's actually doesn't include the grant investments. So these are the loan investments.
Okay.
And so we do have some grant funding. Not this much.
Not this much.
But you know, we're judicious about where we put it. Essentially, for communities that we really know probably can't take on,
Sure.
you know, the loan. So,
Right.
you know, we really try to make sure that those communities are the ones we, you know, do the loan, the grant investments, right? Because everybody deserves, you know, clean water,
Right.
you know, access, like you mentioned, to electricity, all these other
Mhm.
things that make a community and a good place to live. So, you know, we had a wonderful year, 400 million in investments, and you know, all across, you know, New Mexico,
Sure.
rural New Mexico.
Well, and I believe that a portion of that's going to a large amount of money is going into an electric co-op in Clovis, which is our next door neighbor,
Yes.
and just a complete change in the infrastructure and
Mhm.
upgrades and things over time.
So yeah, so basically every probably 50 years or so, you know,
Mhm.
you really just need to upgrade your infrastructure. New Mexico has a lot of sun, a lot of wind,
Right.
and you know, everybody who's lived here through a spring, you know, you just know how much wind we get, and you know, everything needs an upgrade. It
It
needs
does.
a little bit of paint here and there, you know, but sometimes, you know, some full,
The major.
basically some full, you know,
Well, coming into more of electronics and the way
yes.
information and data and the resources are used,
Mhm.
completely
It just
different.
needed complete, yeah. So,
Mhm.
so through our rural utility service, we have a couple of programs. One is the electric program,
Okay.
which you mentioned is where we made the investment in Clovis the
Farmers
Farmers
Electric?
Electric
Mhm.
Cooperative, $60 million there. And usually it's a loan grant combination, some loan, some grant. And then through the rural utility service as well, we have the broadband. Um, so we did quite a few there. Those are pretty much Reconnect is pretty much a grant funding. And like you mentioned, right? Like now we've
Mhm.
moved to, you know, internet. Basically, the internet is kind of where everybody does everything these days.
Mhm.
And so, you know, we've made some pretty big investments
I
in.
know, I worked for the telephone co-op
Oh,
and
did you?
actually did the accounting part for
Uh-huh.
keeping up with these loans and different things, but we were, at that point, bringing internet, and then towards the end was fiber,
Hmm.
and that funding came from RUS.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. So
became pretty familiar with the accounting
the
part of it, the
accounting part of it.
bookkeeping, and
Yes.
it's work, but I mean, that gave up the ability to get that, and then
Mhm.
through COVID, you
Right.
know, that became even more
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 necessary.
necessary for the kids to be able to
For
learn.
everybody, yeah,
Sure, and work.
and then just for to have the capacity to, you know, have a mom or dad or mom
Mhm.
and dad, you know, both be working, and
Right.
then all their kids to be on the same, you know, system and it not be overloaded. So the Reconnect does that. It brought parity really to rural communities, so they would have
Okay.
the same type of, you know, upload and download as, you know, you might have in a, you know, in a bigger city where it would be much easier to do, you
Sure.
know, to do fiber. So, you know, we're very excited for those, and you know, our partners are, you know, basically you
Mhm.
mentioned all of those providers who are, you know, ISPs, internet service
Mhm.
providers, and so we're really happy to work with them and bring that type of infrastructure out to, you know, rural communities. Like
Well,
I mentioned, you know, I grew up in a rural community,
and I did
and
as well.
yeah, you know, so Kit Carson Electric Co-op in Taos
Mhm.
did, you know, they took that on there, which was interesting, right? They were an electric cooperative and decided to also kind of get into the broadband
Mhm.
business. And, you know, now my little community there, so my family home is in Chamisad, which is, you know, a little tiny,
A
even
tiny
tiny little
portion.
place there. And, you know, we have fabulous internet service. So it's really
Lots of
great.
times better than, I think, we found that out, that there's sometimes a lot better service. What has went into came
Mhm.
from RUS in previous years actually brought things and got things in place that maybe the cities and people in town, larger towns, didn't have.
Right. Yeah.
So
So it
that
was.
with that funding, it made
Mhm.
that possible.
And yeah, so like small, like I know one of my neighbors, he's oh, what is it called? He's a carver. You know, he
Uh-huh.
carves different types of things. A santero, right? You know, he kind of really more focuses on religious kind of icons, that kind of thing. But he has this website now, and can do that kind of thing, and show what his art, and
showcase and sell,
and sell his art. So that's really been nice for folks in rural communities, because now some of those artistic and cultural traditions can be conserved and then be highlighted. But then there's also other folks, like I know some folks keep bees, so now kind of small scale, but now they can show their wares.
You can have that access
can
to
have that
network with
access to
other
the
people
network.
and education and everything
Exactly.
else.
So and I'm sure down in other parts of the parts of the state, whatever you might be doing, now you can showcase that. I know fiber arts is a big thing all over New Mexico. My grandma, I didn't do very good at it, but I know she tried to teach me how to like cross stitch, and I used to do that with her, and it was a fun activity. But I know that that's something a lot of folks do, and like again, it's very beautiful.
It is,
and you can highlight that, and just start making things. And if you want to sell them, now you have the opportunity to work from home, make a little bit of extra money. Or maybe you just want to showcase what you're doing, right? Again, it's probably an art that might be not as big as it once was, but it's still, people still do it.
Interest.
And have interest in it. And, again, you can just even share that with others. So,
well, the programs we have on PBS,
right. I love PBS.
I do. Well, obviously, I do too.
I love to watch all the shows.
Even though I'm paid to work here, I like the programs, and we offer a lot of things, that people, and this makes it possible. So
exactly.
How about some of the other things? So, I believe up towards Gallup, did y'all get a big program going? Quamata, right? There was another program that.
So we have our community facilities program, and it's water, wastewater, among many other things, to be honest. So it's actually broken up into two sections. So it's water and environmental programs, which is WEP, and then the community facilities side, which is community facilities. It could be a senior center, it could be a library, which are some of my favorites. And then police and fire. We fund the infrastructure as well as the equipment.
I did not know that piece of it.
So just recently, in fact, congressionally directed spending, we got some allotments through the congressional offices, one for San Diego Pueblo. We have several, but these are the ones we just recently completed, and another for Moriarty. And so we, through that, the funding comes through us, and we see that the project gets is completely funded, and actually is a complete project, because you don't want half-funded projects or projects that are going to sit there and go nowhere. So part of the mandate from Congress to us was see that these projects make it through to the end, and there's a public benefit at the end.
As opposed to just having millions of dollars out on a bridge that's half built.
Exactly.
And it's just a waste of everybody.
So Moriarty recently upgraded their facility, a beautiful facility, and also like state-of-the-art equipment.
Right.
So it's been about a month ago now. We went out there and did, the ribbon cutting for the building. So they were very excited, because they serve not only Moriarty, but they're serving, the adjacent little communities all around.
Sure.
And so now they have the equipment to get out to those communities. And, they have the telecommunications as well, as we mentioned, to now get those service calls directed to them. So, it was really needed, and we're very excited to be part of that. So that's one piece of it. So we fund that piece. So we also actually fund hospitals. So during the pandemic, we did, through our telemedicine grants, we funded Silver City Hospital, and we did some equipment upgrades for them, some ambulance, and then also just some medical equipment inside the hospital.
Okay.
So,
well, I'm learning things. I did not realize that piece of the puzzle.
So we do some really interesting things through community facilities. And like I say, we can also do libraries, senior centers, other types of community facility, if you will. So then through the water and environmental side, we fund water and wastewater. And so we did some recently. I'll just highlight Cuesta.
Okay.
So we did we recently gave them a $60,000 grant to redesign their water system. And like, as you mentioned, right, like these little communities
There's
over
no
time.
way through tax dollars that they collect on property taxes.
They could do that kind of thing. And you know, there's a lot of rules associated with drinking water.
Hmm.
So like another one was Belen.
Okay.
Recently, we funded their arsenic removal um, uh, uh, system. And in New Mexico, like we have a lot of naturally occurring minerals. So arsenic is one of them, and
Right.
that's a big thing here. So a lot of times, it's very expensive to remove it. And so, you know, the communities would really probably never be able to do that on their own.
Well,
So
we've seen through and read over the past years of water systems in
yeah.
in other towns, and the lead
Mhm.
poisoning and different things that they have
Right. So
from
you
not
you
being able
just
to upgrade.
you need upgrades.
And if
Yeah.
you don't do it along,
Hmm.
you're so far behind, you can't ever get the funding to catch up.
Yeah.
So,
So that program is fabulous. It's
mhm.
very well, you know, utilized, and you know, we're really excited to be able to
Define
provide
a
that.
rural community for me. What is considered actually rural?
So it really depends.
Okay.
So through our different programs, right? So for our housing program, the population limit is 20,000. For water and wastewater, it's actually 10,000, because they're such
So small.
expensive projects. You really want to focus on, you know, rural communities that
Rural
can't get the funding.
that may not
Yeah,
have economic
other ways.
ability of more jobs and things like that in those
Yes.
little
And then our
spots.
business programs, the population limit there is 50,000.
Okay.
And throughout all of these programs, there's possibly ways to get exceptions if it's something that's, you know, really needed. You just reach out to us is really the best way, and then we can kind of figure out if there's something we can do. And if it's not us, maybe, you know, we can help you find somebody else that can assist you.
Well, and when you said the wastewater treatment with New Mexico always facing the need for water,
Mhm.
and the more drought we have, and less rain, of course, that's an issue. But those wastewater centers where they can
Yeah.
reuse water, and even if it's not potable,
Right.
but you know, can go
Mhm.
out on the yards and things like
Right.
that.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so that really does just kind of vary a little bit with.
It does. Yeah.
We need to know that. So, what is the business programs? Is that basically just
So again, it targets rural,
okay?
you know, rural communities for small business.
So the
And
telcos and the
uh,
electric companies or actual businesses?
actual businesses.
Okay.
So like one of our biggest business, most utilized is it's called the VAPG, the Value Added Producer Grant. And this is one of the ones where we actually do really get to work directly
Okay.
with producers. Like I mentioned, you know, our sister agencies do a little bit more of that
Mhm.
direct work. But this is one that I really like to talk about, because we get
Oh,
to
good.
work directly with producers. So in Deming, there's a group called 4A Packing, and they process green chili. And so the green chili is the raw product, if you
Mhm.
will. So the value added piece is where, you know, you can really get some revenue from. And in this case, we assisted them with the freeze dried green chili stew pack. So now it can go out to many places, because once something gets freeze dried, it has a longer shelf life.
Right.
And, you know, it can go out all over the place, and everybody can enjoy our green chili.
Well, I have actually ate dehydrated green chili.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so you don't have to refrigerate it. Just dehydrate it, can stick it in a Ziploc bag, and you put it in the water, and it
Yep.
pops back and tastes great.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really
Yeah,
nice.
so that's really neat. And so that's one of our great
Mhm.
programs. And in this case, this group even they package bacon infused green chili. I
Can't
know.
go wrong with
You
either.
can't go wrong there.
Either one of those, really.
Right. And then also through the business programs, we have another program called REAP. So it's a Rural Energy for America program. And we assist small businesses with energy efficiency, and or if they choose to, they can, I say go solar, but you
Mhm.
can really do any type of renewable energy. Most often it is solar in
Okay.
New Mexico.
Sure.
So for the Pueblo of Pojoaque, I don't know if you've ever been up on the road through Pojoaque. There's a little grocery store there,
Mhm.
and if they weren't there, that little area would actually be a food desert, because the closest grocery stores would be Espanola, Santa Fe, or Los Alamos. So they're not huge, but they're a
No.
cute little grocery store. In
Right.
fact, I've been there several times. And so we provided them with $400,000 to install new refrigeration. So it's more
that's
energy
huge.
efficient. Yeah, and it's huge. It's, you know, it'll save them over time about $98,000 in their yearly electric bill.
Well, and those local community members that live there, that gives them a way to
Exactly.
stay there. They can get food and some supplies and some basics, and
Mhm.
they may not have the ability or the money to drive to other locations.
Exactly.
or health reasons and
Mm-hmm.
keep those communities alive and going.
Yes, and so we're very happy to be part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that program is wonderful. So on top of the energy efficiency piece, it does also assist if you choose to, just add solar to your to your business. And again, it usually saves folks a lot of funds. And right now, through the Infrastructure Act, we have a really good deal right now. So we essentially pay for half. So that didn't used to be the terms, but through the Infrastructure Act right now,
Wow.
it's like half. And once that money is expended,
It's gone.
It's gone. But right now, and what does it have? We got a deal for you.
Yeah,
So.
and you want to give all that. You want to be able
And
to
we
use
want
every
to
penny
use
of that,
it.
and not leave it on the
We
table and
don't.
have the government take that back.
Exactly. Or it'll
So-
go to another state, really.
Right.
That's what ends up happening. And so we don't want to use it anywhere else. We want to keep it here in New
Because
Mexico.
actually each state has their own regional
Yes.
director, correct? So,
Mhm. Yes.
but something else you do, you provide help with people getting loans on houses and things like that
We do.
also.
So we do. We have our housing program, and we have a variety of options there as well. So we will fund sometimes folks. So that one's called the direct loan, and so they come to us, and we're essentially their mortgage provider. And for folks that can get funding through a bank, then we also do the guaranteed loan program. And so we work with certain lenders, and we essentially guarantee 80, 90% depending. And so if should they default, we take on that risk.
So you're taking that risk away from the bank and making it for people
Exactly.
that maybe don't have the quite as good of a credit record or the income that helps them get
Yes.
into a clean, safe home.
Exactly. So
Very
we're happy
nice.
to do that. So it's really very nice. And then we also have another program where we help folks update or upgrade their homes, as we mentioned. A lot of times there's just older infrastructure.
Sure.
And so if you're 62 and older and very low income, it's up to a $10,000 grant. And then if it goes over that, then it's a 1% loan up to $20,000.
So possibly an HVAC unit or
actually $40,000.
new windows or
yes. So you could
insulation.
Do you need a roof? Do you need a new, like you mentioned, a heating system, cooling system? Actually, we even will do water and septic upgrades as well, because those things really matter. A lot of
Sure.
times, folks in rural communities, we have our own well.
And
And
I do.
Yeah.
So,
we did
yeah.
too. And
So-
septic system, and you want those to be, especially the septic systems, right? You want them to be up to code, because you're also drinking water not too
That's
far
right
from
there.
it.
And when you go to try to sell that home, if it's not up to code, you have to do all of the things to get that
Yes.
up to that.
So that's one of our very popular programs with the seniors, because it really helps keep them in their home, number one, and keep them in a safe home, which we're really happy to provide that service.
So, and then, like you said, this program has been around since 1935 and merged and morphed and just continues to grow and just do amazing things for. If people have an interest in wanting to learn more, I know you've got a website.
We do.
So
it's www.rd.usda.gov/NM for
Okay.
New Mexico.
So www.rd.usda.gov/NM. So, and there's also, where would they call?
So they can call our Albuquerque office at 505-761-4960 is the best way. We do have other offices,
Okay.
but a good jumping off point there, and then we'll direct them where they need to go.
Well, I was going to ask if there's actually local offices around the state that people could go to, or basically contact this.
Contact the Albuquerque office, and then
they can,
but we do have offices in. So Albuquerque's our state office, as well as it's the bigger office, if you will.
Sure.
We have an office in Las Vegas, New Mexico, in Aztec, in Las Cruces, and one in Roswell as well.
So and I know we always run out of time on talking about this, but there's a lot of really great programs, and definitely encourage people to go to those websites
absolutely.
and make calls, and you can help them, guide them.
It's what is that saying? You can't win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket.
Right.
So just call and ask.
Would this be something?
Yes. We might. The answer could be no. It might not be us, but we'll direct you to.
But there may be something else
that's
available.
But it will probably be yes.
Well, Patricia, it's always a pleasure to have you, and thank you for your work for all of the rural residents in our state.
It's my complete honor. Thank you.
I think you have a passion, and that comes through where you have a heart for the small the small little towns across our state. So
And that's
thank
probably
you.
been the best thing, is getting out and about to see them.
Well, thanks again.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching today. We will see you next time on You Should Know. Cheers.